Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Thira Panachari Yamuna Thira Panachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Thira Panachari Yamuna Thira Panachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Jnantimidandasya Jnananjanachalakaya Chakshuru Militham Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam. Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Chowpatty Sri Guru Vaishnavanscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahakana Raghunatham Bitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahakana Lalita Sri Vishakan Bitamscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patithanam Bhavanibhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Satharine. Hare Krishna. We were explaining just a few days back how Lord Brahma the Father and Creator of everyone and everything within our particular universe, is seeing the infinite value of every dust particle of Sri Vrindavan Dham. During the Brahma Vimohan Lila, where he wanted to exhibit his power, a power that no one in this world has. Krishna and his friends, the Gopas, were sitting on the bank of Yamuna, taking prasad. It is described how there was countless Gopas in concentric circles surrounding Krishna. And each Gopa was experiencing that Krishna is only looking at me. And they would take a bite out of some prasad, and it was so good. Their mothers cooked it. And it was so nice, they wanted to share it with Krishna. Krishna, this samosa is excellent. Please try it. And Krishna would take it. And then Krishna would take a bite out of something and share it with his friends. And then another friend would take a bite out of a laddu and say, Krishna, very nice laddu, please have. Krishna's Yagya Bhuk. That means he's the Supreme Lord, Narayan, who receives all the sacrifices and offerings of all the devas, of all the Brahmins and sages and rishis everywhere. And that these simple cowherd boys, they're not Brahmins, they're not living like great sages, they're not chanting Vedic hymns, they're not even saying any mantras when they're offering to Krishna. They're taking the food right out of their mouths and Krishna's eating. And he's happier taking the remnants of the cowherd boys than he is with elaborate offerings made by demigods and kings. And that is Vrindavan, because it is offered with the intimacy of such love. We cannot imitate. First of all, it is important that we understand the supremely exalted position. Brahma was thinking. He's taking the food from the mouths of his friends. Who is this? Let me see. So he exhibited some of his powers. He allured the little calves, because this is when Krishna and Balaram were taking care of calves. And that day Balaram was not there. It happened to be his appearance day. Now, if you read in the scriptures what Krishna and Balaram did on their appearance days, they would spend the whole day giving in charity. Because the greatest gift we can receive is blessings of great souls. And those blessings come when we serve. When we serve with a desire to please great personalities, their blessings spontaneously pour out to purify us. Rohini, Devi, Yashoda Mai, that is how they would celebrate their children's birthdays. Giving them blessings, engaging them in services. So Brahma, he allured the little calves with very nice grasses. And when the Gopas were thinking, where is Krishna? I mean, where is the calves? Krishna said, you all stay and enjoy your prasad. I will find them. And he looked in all directions. He went to the hills, he went to the valleys, he went to the forests. Eventually, he came back to the Yamuna, and all the Gopas were gone. Brahma, countless calves, countless Gopas, he kidnapped all of them and put them into a sleep and hid them. So what it was, Krishna knew it was time for everyone to return, and the mother cows were waiting for their calves eagerly, and all the mothers of the Gopas. So he expanded himself in identical form of every calf and every cowherd boy. And he came home. Just like every other day, he was playing his flute and dancing, and the calves were dancing, and the boys were singing. And each went to their mothers, and the calves drank from the cows, and each boy was bathed by their mothers and fed by their mothers. And 1 year passed, and not a single cow or father or mother or brother had the slightest thought that this is not my child. Krishna is so meticulous. The memories of every child, the exact bodily features, the tone of their voices, their desires, their wishes, everything was identical. There was only one difference. All the cows and mothers and fathers and brothers, they just never loved their loved ones so much. They actually loved them as much as Krishna. Because everyone in Vrindavan loved Krishna more dear than their lives, more dear than their own loved ones. Parikshit Maharaj was astounded. He asked Sukadeva Goswami, how could anyone love someone else's son more than their own children? And Sukadeva Goswami said, Krishna is the life of all lives. He's the origin of the Paramatma. Whatever we love about anyone is only because they're infinitesimally manifesting a part of Krishna. Krishna is the supreme ultimate object of everyone's love. He's the origin. After a year, when Lord Brahma came to see what was the condition of chaos within Vrindavan, he saw everything exactly the same. There was Krishna. It was Balaram's birthday again. He wasn't there. He was with all his friends, and there was all the calves. And Brahma went to where he hid them, and they were still there. And then he went back to Vrindavan, and he saw that they were here. And he went back, and he saw, and then he came, but they're here. To bewilder Lord Brahma, he was thinking, when I'm coming here, is Krishna taking them and then bringing them back, or what's happening to me? He was completely bewildered. He forgot who he even was. He was so bewildered. And then every calf and every cowherd boy manifested a form of Narayan with 4 arms. And around each and every one of them were all the demigods and all the sages and all the rishis offering prayers. And they were limitless. And Brahma stood completely speechless. And suddenly, everything disappeared. And there was just Krishna with a little lump of food in his hand, some yogurt and rice and fruit. And he was innocently looking for the calves and the boys like he was a year before. And suddenly Lord Brahma, because he humbled himself completely, all of his ego, and he's a Paramhamsa, great devotee, but still, in his role as the creator of the universe and the guna avatar of the Rajaguna, very powerful position in Brahmaloka. Whenever the demigods and the sages and rishis want an incarnation to come, they approach Brahma to pray on their behalf. That is his position. But when he completely surrendered to the intimacy and the sweetness of Krishna, he realized that Krishna's not even taking the role of God like Narayan. He's just a little cowherd boy looking for his friends. Lord Brahma realized this is the ultimate realization of the absolute truth, because it's the absolute revelation of love, of prema, that Krishna is sharing with his friends. He totally humbled himself. He surrendered his heart. He realized, I know nothing. Krishna, I'm yours. At that moment, Krishna revealed Vrindavan to him. He was already seeing Vrindavan. But he wasn't seeing the inner beauty of Vrindavan. Because we can't really see Vrindavan with these eyes made out of earth, water, fire, air, and ether, filtered through the mind, intelligence, and the ego. We can only see Vrindavan when Sri Radharani and Lord Sri Krishna reveal their eternal home to us. Premanjana Churita Bhakti Vilochanena. When we see through the eyes of pure love, then we could see Shyam Sundar and his abode and his devotees. So when Brahma surrendered with gratitude to Krishna, then the same thing he was seeing with his 8 eyes completely transformed. He was seeing Vrindavan, but suddenly all the trees he was looking at, he realized they're kalpavriksha trees. He realized the dust on the ground that he had been seeing all along. Every grain was more precious than all the jewels and all the wealth in Brahmaloka and in the entire universe. Because Chintamani, it could fulfill all our desires. He was seeing each cow and calf as a surabi, a kamadhenu, that can fulfill every spiritual desire of the soul. And now he was seeing that little boy Krishna as the supreme essence and the full completeness of all beauty, charm, and love. He was seeing Vrindavan as it is, by Krishna's grace. So as we're going from place to place in Vrindavan, sometimes you're in traffic jams, sometimes you're on buses, sometimes it's very hot, sometimes very cold, sometimes monkeys are attacking, sometimes hogs are blocking the roads, sometimes people are begging and they just won't leave you alone. And sometimes it looks like there's poverty, and even worse than that for some of us is when we see all these 5-star hotels coming up. But don't feel bad. We only live maybe 70, 80, 90 years at the most. Brahma's 311 trillion years. We have 2 little eyes. He has 8 big eyes. Brahmacharis, you're fortunate. You don't have to involve yourself in too many worldly affairs. But for some of us, mothers or fathers, we may have 2 or 3 or 4, maybe 5 children. Brahma, everyone is his child. Not only all humans, all species of life are his grandchildren, great-great-grandchildren. Such a personality. And yet, he was taking Krishna and Vrindavan for granted until Krishna revealed the vision to him. All the Vedas are ultimately coming from Brahma. He's the most learned, but still. Until we receive grace, we cannot really see as it is. And Brahma wanted to be, actually he prayed. He prayed, I don't want to be a creator. I just want to be a humble servant of the servant of the servant of the servant of the Lord. And he performed tapasya for that purpose, where he wouldn't be distracted by any fame or prestige. but he could constantly remember the Lord. And Krishna gave him a benediction. You could be Haridas Thakur. You'll be born in an untouchable family where all people practically will look down on you and persecute you and think you're useless, but you'll be so happy and so humble, and you'll be constantly remembering me in ecstatic love as you chant the holy names of the Lord. We learn to see through the faith that is given to us, through the inspiration, the example, and the words of great personalities, Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. It is through the medium of our Gurus, the great Sadhus of the present and past, and the Holy Scriptures, that we learn to see everything. Because the mind and the senses is very much influenced by our own egos and the egos of others. When Jagadananda Pandit wanted to come to Vrindavan, he's a gopi in his original Leela of Krishna, in Madhurya Ras. But in his Sadhaka Leela as a devotee of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he wanted to go to Vrindavan. And Lord Chaitanya said, you can go, but always remain in the association of Srila Sanatana Goswami. Because if you stay too long, and if you're not really involved in the association of an advanced devotee serving, then you'll take things to be ordinary. And you'll take the people to be ordinary. And then you'll make offenses. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he taught us how we should understand the supremely exalted position of Vrindavan. When we really experience that, then we can genuinely enter into the beautiful pastimes of Vrindavan. So everyone, please be grateful. We're here in the month of Kartik. Yes, the mind wanders here and there. The senses, the health, so many things. That's nice. All those difficulties help us to take shelter. We left off yesterday where we spoke the Leela of Krishna stealing butter. And it is described that when our hearts become very soft and sweet, like fresh butter, Krishna will steal our hearts. Unless Krishna steals our hearts, we cannot understand Krishna. In other words, unless Krishna reveals himself to us, we can't really understand. Everything is dependent on grace. Now, in order for that butter to be, Yashoda Mai and all of these different gopis, they would churn yogurt into butter. Now, what is churning? Our sadhana is that process of churning. And actually, Krishna helps us. Because when you churn yogurt, it's kind of agitating it, isn't it? And it's making separations. So similarly, Krishna, he allows and even facilitates difficulties and hardships to come in our life to help churn our hearts. Because in that state, chanting Krishna's name, praying to Krishna, taking shelter of Krishna is no longer just because we're supposed to or because we want to. It becomes the sole necessity of our life. Nothing else really matters anymore. Lord Chaitanya told Kolavecha Sridhar that Krishna is controlled by devotional service or bhakti. And Krishna is controlled by any devotee who sincerely begs for bhakti. That is something every single one of us can do. Whatever we've done, whatever we have not done, wherever we've been born, whatever situation we have, every single one of us has the power and the opportunity to beg. You see, you don't have to have something to beg. In material world, the qualifications are what you have. But Lord Chaitanya, Lord Nityananda, they don't consider our qualifications or disqualifications. Because whether you're a king or whether you're living in a cave, you can beg. But you can only beg when you realize you don't have something. You can only beg when you really feel a need. And to really beg, you have to totally humble yourself. If we beg for pure devotional service, Krishna comes under our control. But our begging has to be real. It means we really have to open our heart to receive. Just like sometimes we drive car in Mumbai and beggar knocks on the window, like that. He wakes us up like you just did. And they're begging, yes? And we have a rule in Mumbai that everyone in a car must always carry a quantity of prasad, because no beggar should be empty-handed before a devotee. So we give them nice prasad. And some of them are so happy, little children, they just start dancing and eating, and then all the other children come and they're all dancing and eating, and so nice. But other times you give them prasad and they throw it back and they say, no, rupees, rupees. So what kind of beggar is that? I'm making up an analogy here. You see, they're not grateful. They're not willing to receive. So if we're actually beggars and we actually feel a need, then we will receive. If we're begging for bhakti, and Srila Prabhupada says, chant 16 rounds minimum. Follow these principles, read my books, help in this great mission of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Be the servant of the servant of the servant. Be humble like a blade of grass and tolerant like a tree, and being forgiving for offenses that people do to you. Respect and don't demand respect. We're begging for devotional service, and he's giving. If we're really beggars, we'll receive it with our whole heart. Not that we want something else. Because we're being given the key to the spiritual world through the simple lifestyle of Krishna consciousness. But even if we perform all these duties, devotional activities, still, along with that, our frame of mind must be that we're performing our we're receiving these devotional activities, begging for pure love, begging for pure devotion, because there's nothing else that really pleases Krishna. And every one of us can do that. It just requires sincerity. And Krishna tells, I am controlled by one who begs for pure devotion. So when the churning comes and the difficulties come, it helps us to understand how far away we are and our great need. So yesterday we were talking the beautiful story. Jashoda Mai was churning the yogurt for Krishna. And ultimately, Krishna stopped her. She put Krishna down to perform another duty. Krishna broke the butter pot. Krishna went to the courtyard and was stealing butter from the rafters of the ceiling, standing on top of a wooden grinding mortar. He was filling his belly with butter. He called his friends, and he was giving them all the butter they could eat. Then he called the monkeys from the forest